Welcome back to my work. It's new to me, filmmaking. I mean, I've made home videos before, no doubt irritated enough of my relatives with them. Um, but the subjects I'm going to cover are difficult to me. They may not be to anybody else. I often generally see my work as research, um, as producing research for people who study, hopefully things like surviving abuse, stalking campaigns, and maybe just people moving through middle age into senior citizenship. Musicians, whatever it is your things, I really do believe my work is a great resource and could be an inspiration to hopefully many people. What I what brought me here? Oh, I feel quite tense talking so formally because I generally free flow, you know, monologue of me, monologue of I. Come, let me tell you what I feel inside. I didn't know you could see me, so hurt inside, so hurt inside. I really need to look up a beat underneath that. Let me tell you about my musical process. 16th of October, I finally produced an EP and sent it to distribution. Uh, I'm learning the music business. I've ended up having a record label of sorts. Let me tell you how. I didn't even set out and plan to do it. Let me tell you this. When I became a mum, the reality of being a lone parent really hit me. I was now responsible for funding somebody else's life for 18 years at least, if not plus plus. What I never expected or wanted was them to have to, my child to have to fund my life or help me financially. But my beginnings with money from babyhood up, so from babyhood up I'd experienced incest, I'd gone off to nursery. It was a Christian household, but the level of violence was absolutely excruciating. I'm not here to sit and say that I have had the worst life. I am nobody's victim. I am here I'm here to heal. I've been through some things. I have to validate what I've been through. I started off in my early life, even though I say poetry is my first form of creativity, actually my first form of creativity as I remember it now is songwriting. I spent time, I learned grade one piano I have as a qualification, but never got any further than that. And that was simply because I made such a stink about not wanting to do it, because I'd been through so much abuse up until that point. And I remember, God bless the teacher, it's things at the time. And I'm not saying it was right, but I understand it as it is. And I remember being rapped over the knuckles for getting it wrong, and I just did not appreciate that. I was later in life now. This was now people into teenage, I think. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't regret not sticking up for myself and removing myself from what was an abusive situation. I don't regret that. But do I regret the knowledge now that I have returned to music? Yes. And I just don't have the time at the moment to really sit and reconnect with the theory and the practical and really learn. So I really improv a lot and freestyle. So I have quite a time. Luckily, I remember most of what I've done. But sometimes when I sit there and actually literally go into a trance, especially like with the house track I did, it turned out great the way it is. I can't say I'll make another EP like that. I think I will definitely now sit down and I feel more seasoned, a little bit more seasoned in what I'm doing. Even though I'm not quite there yet. I'm not a musician. I'm not brilliant at what I do. I probably never will be. But I can flow therapeutically with whatever I take up to do. And I do understand patterns and rhythms. So if you catch me on Twitter at Natural Flowism, I think I tweet some fantastic music by other artists. I appreciate other artists so much, singers, songwriters, and if I dare to be encouraging, if I'm in that position, I would say don't give up, just put it out there. The amount of odd tunes that I found which are not necessarily chart topping. You know, the world, my music is alternative. It really isn't about fame or performance for me. I don't have no act. I don't have no performance. This is therapeutic. So whatever you hear, listen to. If it makes you laugh, if you enjoy it, it's coming from a place of therapy. And behind that therapy is a background in incest and the continuum of incest, which is a term that I've learned to use recently. And that is when, even though you grow up from the childhood, you leave the abusive home. Each one of you, I come from a large family, and each one of us moves on differently. Some of us move on with have serious disorders, dysfunctions, and which may lead to cruelty and cause cruelty to others. Some of us move on and heal, but still in our ignorance, while we heal, we still cause unintentionally pain to others. We all cause each other pain. It's part of the learning process. But some of us move on with more capacity than others. I think definitely for myself, I lived in two different worlds, and it's no doubt incredibly painful for those who did know me and probably thought they could consistently be in my life, and having me turn around and say, no, I actually have to move on and be by myself, or take my daughter to a different influence, and to, at least to myself, encapsulate myself in the idea that I'd moved on. I have to say, being stalked for the second time and living through the campaign that I did, of which a large part of the pain which I'm going to use this platform to heal, is the feelings and what I feel is the experience of those who don't want me to call it stalking, and feel abused by their actions, and the fact that I feel like there's a kind of taunt and threat kind of around my life, whereby after years now of observing what has gone on, where there is it's like a thing, oh, you thought you moved on, excuse me, you thought you moved on, but actually no, we were watching you all the time. It's so hard. There's a level of, really, I didn't know till recently, to explain it in a nutshell, what might be possibly things like a dependence disorder. I didn't really know there was that kind of thing. You know, people think that they come off saying to everybody else that they really care about you, or, you know, watch over Vin, and what they don't realise is that they're actually stalking and violating your life. Actually, you're fine. They don't need to keep on putting the feelers out, and it's a mess. It's a mess, but it's very slight in some ways, I should say, and in some ways not. Should I say that? No. What I should say is there's not a day that I leave my house and I don't feel that I'm stalked, basically, whether it be taxi driver driving past. When I'm at work, I'm a mobile, I don't say I'm a mobile worker, I don't know if it covers that, but what I should state is that, I am a company owner. I work employed and self-employed, and generally offer services business-wise to the haulage industry as a large goods vehicle driver. So if you've read my work or read my website, you would see that I've written that in my early stages of life, I thought it'd be a good idea. The first thing I thought of investing in is singing lessons, because I had a high register to my voice, which wasn't too clear, and I'd previously been told because I'd mixed with kind of music, not in music industry people who had made it big, but people who were aspiring to. So I had been in a kind of group, and I'd sung at church, and, you know, odd times, no massive performances or nothing like that, but I had gone I'd experienced being in the studio and was told that my voice had a croak in it, a frog in it, and it's very true because I do have a break in my voice. So I've when I was first introduced to singing would be at home. We used to do home worship as a Christian family, and so that's when I learnt harmonies and melodies. So I would have somebody would be singing tenor, somebody would sing soprano, I would sing alto, and I just learnt to fuse in that way. Talking of piano and guitar, my two instruments, one was piano, which and it was such a privilege to learn. I'm not so I didn't grow up on a council estate. I didn't grow up in the ghetto, so to speak. That is not what I came from. That is not the look you would see externally, but what we went through internally behind the doors of the house. We may as well, I mean, we could have been gangbanging on the street for the level of violence that went on. I mean, it sounds really extreme to say, but just to give you the impact of what I witnessed and what I went through, I literally relate to those people, and that was to later play out in relationships that went horrendously wrong and were incredibly painful. But my second instrument, this is that fuse of music, and my second instrument was guitar, and it was time I spent with my late sister, my late mother at the time, and my genre there was I learnt folk music, and that was the secular music I knew, under the guidance of a parent, from hymns and gospel music. And the gospel music I originally was introduced to was hymns, you know, real old-fashioned hymns. That was my introduction to music. And then through a sibling I was introduced, and then at home we had people like heritage singers. Sorry if you need permission to mention people. And the other family was the Love Alive choirs with Walter Hawkins and his family. Such a blessing, and have continued to be the soundtrack of my life. Absolutely have turned to them. Though I'm not a Christian, I grew up being forced to go to church, and many may not like the fact that I say that, but the truth is I did not have much choice in my early age, in the early years, and eventually when I did, you could tell I didn't attend. I am not of any religion. Though I speak of military and spiritualism, spiritualism was something that I went to. Is a faith-based. It's not a religion. It's a faith anyway. It's as far as I understand. And all the weird, quirky things that went on in my life. When I found spiritualism, it was a way to bring my life together. But needless to say, once I experienced a form of targeting, abuse, stalking. And that's part of the pain, is as I stated, double state again, is not being able to call a thing, but yet you're going through something. And that's a translation from childhood. Like, you go through incest, it's a crime that's committed against you. Rape is a crime, but yet it's like two worlds in society. If it happens outside, it's still a very difficult thing to convict people of. I'm not a law person, despite how I write and the style of how if you've ever written my books, if you've written my books, if you see my eyebrows, if you've ever read my books, I should say, it's a very difficult area of life to go through, to deal with other people with. And I don't know if I'll make it. I really don't know if I'll make it trying to translate this in film and just be really natural and not be scripted about what I do. I mean, I've sat here this afternoon and I have take after take after take just to do the introduction. It's a difficult life. It's a difficult part of life, is what I should say. It's definitely a horrendous experience to live with, and it comes in layers. You get rid of one layer, you might be able to. So it's almost like you get rid of one layer of life, you deal with it, you heal it off. That strip is gone. You go out to play for a bit, and then bam, it appears somehow to come again. That's been my experience. It's not that I'm not aware of being conscious and spiritually awakening. That is the path that I'm on. It's the path I understand about anger. When I was recently faced with a block of anger again, I didn't feel like I could move on. I want to design my clothesline. I want to finish my canvases. I want to put out albums, and all of this kind of thing, but yet I'm working full-time 12-hour shifts and stuff like that. That's how I make my money. Need to do it. Creativity is great, but this is kind of why I've come to screen in a sense. I really want to be seen as for who I am and how I am, but also I want to be able to push my business. My business is great. What you see behind me is I'm Madam List. Earlier this year, I listed down, I just sat down one day and it's flowed through me. It's like, yeah, get this really organized. And you know, my life is that way. I don't know if it's something about being 53 or just wearing a kente scarf and platinum earrings and pearls around my neck. But I just seem to be at that stage in life where no matter how I plan, you know, they say, tell God your plans and he laugh. Well, boy, am I being done some serious laugh on me this year? Because everything, as soon as I plan it, no, that you ain't going that way. I want to get up and no, lie down in your bed and go sleep. But I should have got this done. All right, get up and do it. Get up and do this, you break this, you break that. No. So really, I know the lesson, I know the lesson is to surrender to what is the flow of the day. So today I still going to get up and do what I need to do, but I have to admit I've been hours here despite scripting. No, I don't really like the look of that, and I suppose I'm a bit finicky creatively, but it didn't quite feel right. So such is the monologue, dear. Monologue of me, monologue of I. No, me, I tell you what they're feeling inside. Back to these lists though. Yeah. Did you tell my brain fog and trauma? This is what is going to be really telling for me, really showing myself as I am. And you know, after fighting against being called crazy, you know, and this, that, and the other, because obviously you never feel you are, and being called or being diagnosed with depression at some point in my life, and really feeling, no, I'm not actually depressed, because how could you call me depressed? I mean, I understand depression, the chemical imbalance, but I knew I'd been through enough things to make me have bad enough days for a few days, and then get myself up. And once I had, maybe that is depression. It's not what I would call depression. I just think I react to oppression from time to time, and it's layer and layer, and sometimes you go on and things trigger it off. And I had very difficult times when I shut down my creativity because I was so busy working outside the home. In a sense, I'd started off creating a children's clothes, and I could do very well in that area. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of presence, which is part of my frustration and is why I know anger's come up for me, because I just felt I created the album that released me, the EP recently that I created. I wanted a way to sing through what I was doing. I come up from the 70s and those really political really nice love type tunes, but they really got a strong political freedom message, and I wanted to kind of do my own version. And so I created the album Bad Guitar. I did intend to play guitar all the way through it, but as I came to do it, I managed to play guitar for the first one. Learning technical recording process, difficult. It's outside of my box completely, way outside of my territory. Thankfully, everything you buy has almost a DAW with it, that digital recording thing, whatever that DAW stands for. But yeah, I should really learn things, but this is natural Flowism, honey. Freedom of being. I'm not pretending. I'm here today, no makeup, dirty hair. I was out in the shop like this morning. The only thing I changed was put on some heavy ass earrings and put the Serenity Prayer around my neck and my pals. But other than that, I just thought I'm just going to sit here and ramble. You know, I thought by the time I got here, as I said before, I thought I'd have the neck sorted, a bit thinner. You know, get rid of all these scars, get rid of the skin tag. So frightened to get rid of the skin tags. I tried one and like my face was like it really blew up, and I thought, I'm going back there again. I blew up and put big hole in my chin, but I might try again. But I thought, I like the term ministry. I love hearing how people talk about ministry. I thought if I do have a ministry and a calling, I like all that. It really, really helps my life. if I really do have a ministry and a calling, then it is really ground up. So I thought, no makeup. Though I can glam it up, no makeup. Since I put on weight, I haven't really dressed. When I was younger and I slim, I used to dress a bit. I used to really care about it. But I have to say, dealing with menopause, becoming an adult orphan, pretty much wiped me out. And then to be stalked and attacked for not being slim and not being sexy and all that, and then I really picked up a sense of as I wrote in my books, I went back to childhood, and it really, for a long time, I really went through this period of feeling like, you know, somebody just, that, I don't know, if you haven't been stalked, you may not know. And if you have never been remotely successful in that sense, I think if you've been remotely successful, you may know what it is to be stalked. That's what I should say. That's what I've written, at least, anyway. If you haven't been through it, and it is what you do, you may not really understand the feelings of that really intense feeling of someone not wanting you to let you go, having a threat, feeling threatened. You're going out to work and putting yourself available for work, but you just feel like there's a constant threat that it could be taken away from you deliberately for no reason. Because I understand what that is. I've lived through that. It's difficult. If I've said this before in the monologue, I'll say it again. I tend to be a squirrel earner, in a sense. In the most freelance people and artistic people tend to earn that way. They go out and get money in peak season, and then you sort of use that to hopefully tide you over the roughest seasons. And really, I really need to find, I'm grateful for where I am and what I have, and hopefully I'm with good people. I think I'm with good people now, but really, you know, I've always wanted to broaden my income base, especially through creativity, and I found it consistently difficult. And so I started to write because I had to confront why I found it so difficult, and creating these lists just to get back. I mean, how weird is that? I created this list of intention. It's a print work intention, art gallery stock intention, music publishing intention, and develop natural flows on film and TV intention. And I've listed here, it's 4 here, and I'm about list 3, develop filming, poetry readings and monologue. So poetry reading I've done yet. I'm going to do a little bit in a bit. I think I'm going to stop the film now. I'm just new to this. I don't want to ramble it on because I know you can mix it up and do other things. And the pattern of my earrings. Didn't know you could see me. So hurt inside, so hurt inside. I don't know how to hook up guitar for you to hear it. I don't know if I just play it. Maybe I should play it acoustically. I will do some performances though. That song came to me when I was monologuing, and it's on. I did 140 tracks. I mean, I'm not bragging about anything, believe you me. I think if I could say to you that I posted X amount of sales of business, then I would brag all night. But I'm in a developing stage when it comes to being an entrepreneur. I'm still working in the business and I'm still working it out. And what brought me to writing my books? Let me just give you a quick. I'm very proud of my books, but it took years for me to get here because of the dyslexic way of doing things. I was so super self-conscious of the way things are, the way they look. This is some of my books, but what I should show you is the first 5 books. Now they're not in size order. This is the 5th book. This is actually the 3rd book. So to do it in size order, I did them all different sizes, and I should have really done them. It probably would have looked better if I did it thing. But first book's quite thin. This is Poetry Index 1. Because of the slam style of poetry, I felt that's how I perceived what I was doing. I just thought indexing, and it is really indexing the poetry and the experience of how it came. And I cannot tell you, I'm so grateful that I actually took up the challenge, first publishing on the EPUB and then moving to Create Space as it was then, which is now merged with Amazon, KDP, direct publishing, and the self-publishing journey. I must say, I mean, I don't think it matters so much for poetry if you just want to do random poetry. I cannot say that my style of doing things has got me into physical shops. No, I don't have that level of success, because where I'm coming from was a needs be. My back was up against the wall. I was like, even now I'm crying inside. I was just, oh, I cannot tell you, just backed up against the wall. I thought I'd never get out. You know what I mean? I had sorted out what I felt sorted out in my life, and anything could go wrong at any time. Who of us to take any, you know, decide, oh, we've sorted out life and tell life what to do, you know, in that sense. But you have to take some control, and I don't mind things that have changed. I don't have a problem with that, but it's the stealthiness of the way it changed and the silence around the truth. You know, I know when I'm being abused because that's what I knew in life. So when I wasn't, I definitely knew my life was different. So when you come at me again, you can't tell me I don't know. You cannot tell me that, you know. Right. Second book. These were sketches, and to explain creativity, just a flow like I am today. It's 26 minutes in, I should say today, to do a midnight diary. This is a verbal diary. It's the 24th of November 2018, and it is 18:45. And I must tell you, I started this journey probably after midday when I go to collect my post, and I come home, went to the local shop, came back home. I've recently decided to change things like my white goods and stuff like that. So been downstairs, put the rubbish out, came up and said, right, I'll just quickly do this, put this together and stick it on the website, and that is it. So I can introduce myself, because I still see things going on that I know is abnormal. It's to do with somebody stalking me. I've had enough experience of it. And the reason I just paused there is because when the last time I have spoken to the authorities, i.e. the police, about it, and I've been concerned about a lot of things. And the last experience I had, when as soon as I started speaking, I was kind of shut down and told that what I was saying didn't happen. And that is, I mean, it's a, you know, I've been through levels of abuse. It's nothing more than anything else I've done. But for some reason, creatively, it's stuck. It's stuck. It keeps coming up. It's that thing of not being able to call a thing, yet it's still going on. And I know I'm trying to get up and live life as normal, but it's really hard when you know something's going on. What is so different this time, when I witnessed somebody going through it, and I'm so sorry that I was not more understanding. I was very young at the time. I was just beginning my journey to heal from the rape and the violence I'd been through, and I found it difficult to deal with somebody else who was having that level of problem as well at that time in my life. But I did pay attention to some of it, and I did observe the reaction and the impact it had. And later, when I was faced with the same behaviours myself, you know, and again to go through it at a later stage in life, and it to be ongoing, it was so insidious. The recent time since 2007, but when I witnessed somebody being stalked, they had the identity of their stalker. When I was stalked directly, I had the identity of the stalker, so you knew who you was dealing with. What started /2006, 2007? No idea. I could recognise some people. I followed the guidelines where it says, even if you believe you're being stalked, if you can see me spitting out on film, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to stop filming. I'm just going to let this be what it is. I had no idea where I was being hit from. Health-wise, I went down. My situation became worse, stressed out. I knew my work was being attacked, specifically when I moved. Partly because I had careered up in the sense that I know it says, in the haulage industry, it's really, people just laugh you to the ground because they're like, that is just like a dirty job. But for me, if you understand from even before I left home, as a young girl, even before I should even be thinking about money or even pocket money, I had harrowing experiences with anything to do with figures and money. And harrowing is a really strong word for what harrowing means, but it's too strong a word. But I haven't got another word at the moment. But when I say really, that was the area of life. I don't know for what reason. There was this consistent message where you'll never afford anything, you'll never get on. I wasn't expected to live because of the illnesses how bad I was ill, and so there was always directly told that, you know, you never really get on in life, you really can't do anything because of the asthma you have. And it set me on a path. I just, you know, instead of being encouraged and, you know, you can go out and earn what you want to, you just get like, I know that path because I've done that as a parent. There's nothing that can hold you back. Just go out and get it. It's always been an area of fear for me, and it's really played out again now as I want to come to do business. Like, I released the album on the 16th of October. It took me till last night would have been the 23rd of November to actually learn how to spend the time to actually put the actual album on site, and my other two albums, so you can just go on site, and if you want to buy that kind of work, you can. But I'm always really self-conscious of how alternative my work is, and probably this monologuing doesn't help. I just want to be free, but at least my earring got away from me.